The haunted castle house in Brumley, Missouri has seen some history and death. It was used as a private residence and a doctor's office. Sarah Lee was the first recorded owner of the land in 1812, but she never actually lived there. From 1836 to 1875, Reverend Jacob Shaw Macomb Sr. owned the house. His first wife, Emily, died here on the property when she was only 40. Together they had 10 kids, one of which also died on the property at 5 weeks. From 1875 to 1883, Dr. John L. Connor owned the house. He was a doctor, coroner, and teacher. He worked as the Miller County coroner from 1875 to 1881. It is believed his office and apothecary shop were on the property, but it's hard to know for sure because the current house didn't exist at that time period. If this was true, he would have treated patients and prepared bodies on the land. From 1885 to 1893, John Clark Martin owned the property. He was a merchant, farmer, and innkeeper. It is possible that he was the builder of this house. He was married to his wife Franny, and together they had 8 children, including Love and Dave, who were stillborn twins. They are buried within 1,000 feet of the property. From 1928 to 1930, Dr. Walter Duncan Dixon was the owner. While he lived here with his wife, they had a hired hand, Grace DeVore, living with them in 1930. Also in 1930, Walter died of a heart attack in the home. From 1930 to 1935, James Dixon, son of Walter Dixon, owned the property. He was a mailman, prison guard, and timekeeper. He was also an alcoholic with anger issues. He showed up at the post office, drunk and with a gun, threatening to kill the man who he thought got him fired from his post office job. Dr. Myron Jones happened to be present during this and was able to get the gun away from him. He took it back to his wife Chloe, and she sold it back to the original owner. From 1956 to 1963, William Burt Sullivan owned the property. He was a barber who smelled like rose talcum powder. His wife's uncle was a former owner. Sullivan died in the home from complications of arthritis. From 1956 to 1983, Norma Cecil Connor Sullivan owned the property and was a seamstress, cook, and owned a hat shop. She died in the house from dementia. From 1984 to 1988, Emerson Alley was the owner and also owned a cleaning service. He was a Korean War veteran and he died in the house from a heart attack. From 2013 to 2016, Nick Sacco and Marcy Hootner bought and restored the castle house. It was originally planned to be used as a bed and breakfast. Odd occurrences started happening, so they began to use it as a haunted bed and breakfast. Nick was never uncomfortable in the house, but Marcy was no longer able to stay there after she saw Nick's doppelganger one night. They then sold the home to Steve and Judy Skinner. Today they use the house for investigations only. Many have had experiences in the house and on the property. Full-bodied apparitions have been seen, sometimes in color, other times on a black and white scale. 2 ghost children have been witnessed and have said Steve and Judy's names before. It is said the master bedroom gets the most activity, although random activity occurs in all the rooms. This may not be surprising, since the master bedroom is where most of the deaths have occurred throughout the years. The first night Skinner stayed at the house, he was woken up by 5 loud bangs passing through the closet door. Upon inspecting the house, thinking there was an intruder, he found nothing. He is also woken up to sounds of a little girl giggling and humming in the room, and he has heard a male hissing sound. Throughout the rest of the house, people have experienced shadow figures, have heard phantom noises, and have been touched. With this house's rich history, there's no doubt that there's some unexplained events going on here.
Johann Adam Lemp arrived in St. Louis from Eschwege, Germany in 1838. He built a small grocery store and sold common household items, groceries, and homemade beer. The beer was so popular that 2 years later, in 1840, he built a small brewery. For years, the brewery gained popularity from expanding to winning first place at the St. Louis Fair in 1850 1858, on August 25th, 1862, Adam Lemp died a millionaire. His son William began massively expanding the brewery. Eventually, the brewery covered 5 city blocks. In 1868, Jacob Fikert, who was William's father-in-law, built a house near the brewery. In 1876, William bought it for his family. The house was already big, but William wanted it bigger, and began construction to expand it as soon as he moved in, turning the house into a Victorian showplace. A tunnel was built going from the mansion to the brewery. It would later hold a swimming pool, auditorium, theater, and a bowling alley. The Lemp Brewery was the first company to have coast-to-coast distribution, and the company had massive success. In 1901, William's son, Frederick Lemp, died at the age of 28. He was in very good health but died of heart failure. William was beyond devastated, as Frederick was his favorite son and the heir to their fortune.
That was my favorite kid.
You're not supposed to have favorites, you fuck. He was never the same after. He was rarely seen in public and became withdrawn from everyone. On January 1st, 1904, William's best friend, Frederick Pabst, died. William went to work each day but was noticeably unsettled and anxious. His mental health went downhill. On February 13th, 1904, he shot himself in the head. In November of 1904, William Lemp Jr. took over as the new business owner. He and his wife Lillian started spending his inheritance on carriages, clothing, art, and filling the mansion with servants. They had a son, William J. Lemp III. As William got tired of his wife, he started holding extravagant parties under the mansion in the tunnels, while he made his wife go out shopping to stay away from him. I mean, hey, give me your money. He ended up cheating on his wife and had a son with another woman. There are no official documents saying that this boy existed, but rumors say the boy was hidden away in the attic for his entire life. A former nanny was interviewed and said the boy did exist, but he had Down syndrome and was an embarrassment to the family, so he was hidden away in the attic to prevent shame. He is known as the monkey face boy. Just mean. In 1908, Lillian filed for divorce. Amen, sister. This became a major scandal in the area. Crowds came in waves to the courthouse when it went to trial. In the end, Lillian got custody of their son and disappeared from the public eye. William's mother died of cancer on April 16, 1906. The brewery started declining for many reasons. He built a country home on the Merrimack River and married Ellie Limburg in 1915. The biggest reason being the prohibition in 1919. He closed the brewery down with no warning and gave up. On March 20th, 1920, William's sister Elsa Lemp Wright shot herself in the head like her father. He sold all of the brewery buildings and he went into a dark depression, complaining about his ill health and became progressively more nervous. On December 29th, 1922, he shot himself in the heart in the same building that his dad shot himself in. In 1943, William Lemp III died of a heart attack at 42 years old. William's brother Charles, who left the business long ago, remodeled the mansion and lived in the house with 2 servants and the illegitimate child. Charles developed a morbid fear of germs and he wore gloves at all times. The secret child died in his 30s and was buried in the Lemp Cemetery with a flat headstone with only the word Lemp. Shortly after the secret child's death, Charles committed suicide. He shot his Doberman in the basement, then climbed the staircase to his room on the 2nd floor and shot himself. The last member of the family was Charles and William's brother Edwin. Edwin walked away from the brewery in 1913 and lived a quiet life in Kirkwood, Missouri. He died of natural causes at 90 years old in 1970. He requested his butler burn all the paintings his family had collected, all documents and artifacts. The mansion was sold and turned into a boarding house. The building began to deteriorate, but the ghost stories began. There were reports of knocks and footsteps. In 1975, Dick Pointer purchased the house. It was turned into a restaurant and inn. The workers had their own experiences, such as strange sounds, apparitions, and the feeling of being watched. Some would get so scared they would quit and never return. The attic is said to be haunted by the secret child and sometimes can be seen from the parking lot.
So sorry if I do not pronounce this correctly. In Springfield, Missouri is the stunning Pythian Castle. On the outside, the structure looks majestic, but on the inside there's a sinister history. This grand castle was built by the Ozark Knights, who were members of the fraternal organization the Knights of the Pythias. They were founded in the early 1900s by Justice H. Rathbone, who was working as a clerk for the U.S. Treasury. The idea for this foundation came from a play by an Irish poet named John Banham. It's about two close friends, Damon and Pythias, and how they are willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of another. Rathbone was moved by this, especially after the Civil War, and felt the nation could start to heal with a renewed spirit of brotherhood. Castles began being built all throughout the country, with one ending up in Springfield. In 1914, the castle officially opened, which caused a grand celebration. The community was happy with how they could come together to support those in need. This is when things started to take a turn. The residents were referred to as inmates. At the time, it was just what they were commonly called, but it added an odd stigma around them. There were jobs for everybody to do, such as farming and gardening. Others had daily chores. In a newspaper article about the residents, it said the atmosphere inside the castle was like that of a large family, but it's unsure of how true that statement actually was. In 1935, Social Security was signed into law, and it made less funding available for places like the Pythian home, since most of the elderly were now able to move into nursing homes or support themselves on their own. In October of 1941, the home closed its doors. Once World War II started, the Pythian Castle opened its doors back up as an extension of an Army hospital. The Army had plans of building the O'Reilly General Army Hospital next door. The Army purchased the property for $40,000. Thousands of sick and wounded soldiers were housed here during the war. At the end of World War II, the Army hospital was able to close. The castle was later reopened by the Veterans Administration as a tubercular hospital that served chronically ill patients until 1952. The hospital's property was sold and made into an evangelical university, but the Pythian Castle was kept by the Army and used as a reserve center. By the 1990s, the Army decided they didn't need the Pythian Castle anymore, so once again it was placed up for sale. It was then bought by the Taylors. The Taylors were a farming family, and owning the house didn't last long for them. The property went through several more owners before eventually being sold to Tamara Finocchio, its current owner. She converted the old orphanage into an event center and has noticed some spirits lingering in the walls of the castle. She is a believer that Pythian Castle has many ghosts roaming the area and has several experiences herself. People who visit the grounds have also reported strange things happening. Tamara reports hearing disembodied voices in the corridors and having lights turn on and off by themselves. Visitors often say that their camera batteries and device batteries will drain quickly. Objects will move on their own with no possible explanation, and many strange unexplained sounds will be heard. Some have seen spirits that look like military men from World War II. In the basement, there is the spirit whose nickname is Boots. Boots lives in the hallway in the basement. He got the nickname because when he is around, you can hear the sound of his boots on the floor as he walks down the hallway. One visitor claims that they had gone on many tours, and on one tour in particular, they were walking around in the basement when they felt a strange chill. Could this have been Boots? Probably one of the spookiest experiences comes from a friend of Tamara's. She was going out of the country and asked her friend to stay at the castle and keep watch over it. She said to him the spirits of the castle would tell him things that he should know. Thinking it was kind of strange, he shrugged it off because he was just excited to stay in a 100-year-old castle. The first night, he had a spirit wake him up. The spirit looked just like Tamara and shook him awake, saying, "Wake up, wake up. The dog is on the roof. You must get to the window and get the dog." He knew this couldn't possibly be his friend. He went to the window and found the dog on the roof. The dog got back inside, and the next night the friend brought a friend to stay with him. While they were sitting together, they both started hearing sounds all around them. The noises went on for a while before his friend decided that he had had enough spooks for the night. Then they heard someone or something walk right past them, even though they were the only two in the room, let alone the only two in the entire castle. After this experience, they both decided to leave the castle. Over the years, believers, investigators, and skeptics have come to the castle to see if all these experiences are real or fake. But there's no denying that Pythian Castle has a very interesting and dark history.
The reason that Elms Hotel and Spa is around today is due to the discovery of healing mineral waters in Excelsior Springs in the late 1800s. In 1880, local farmer Travis Mellion's daughter, Opal, became ill with an incurable form of tuberculosis. He started asking campers in the area for advice. They suggested giving Opal the spring water bubbling from the bank of the nearby river. He gave his daughter the spring water to drink and bathe in. After several weeks, she improved little by little and was eventually cured. News of Opal's healing spread around, and soon people were flocking to the waters to be treated. Everything from bad joints to Civil War wounds were being treated. More springs were discovered, making thousands of people come to the small valley to see for themselves. Landowner Anthony Wyman and visiting pastor John Van Buren Flack developed the land, which ended up being the town of Excelsior Springs. They began advertising the healing properties of the water to bring even more visitors in. During this time, more than 200 houses were built. In the late 1880s, entrepreneurs formed the Excelsior Springs Company and made parks and pavilions. In 1888, they made the Elms Hotel. Guests were able to soak in the mineral water or be in the beautiful gardens. They had fancy parties and grand balls. It was one of the most desired places to be. On May 9, 1898, a tragedy struck. The Elms Hotel suffered a horrible fire and burned the wooden structure to the ground. Luckily, there were no fatalities or injuries. In 1908, construction on the second Elms Hotel began and opened on July 31, 1909. The new hotel had many more guests come in by train from all over the country. On October 30th, 1910, another fire occurred. It took only 3 months to have the plans for the third Elms Hotel to be ready. What are you guys doing with these hotels?
They're having them grand balls.
Fire bad. The hotel opened on September 7th, 1912. This is the current hotel today. It is constructed of native limestone.
Not good. I mean, good. It'll be around for a while, but it holds ghosts.
As the 1920s came, the hotel continued its fame of being a national health resort. They narrowly avoided being converted into a sanitarium, but the hotel couldn't survive the Great Depression and filed for bankruptcy in 1931. Under new ownership in the 1930s, it was once again made into a health spa. Al Capone, Pretty Boy Floyd, and Bugs Moran allegedly hosted illegal gambling and bathtub gin parties. During Prohibition, police tried to raid the Elms multiple times. On one attempt, the police busted in on a cocktail party that included the governor of Missouri. He told the cops to get out and bust someone who was really breaking the law.
Stick it to him.
The Elms stayed in business up until the beginning of the 1960s. It went through different owners, but by 1970 the doors closed for the next 8 years. Today, the Elms Hotel and Spa stands as a grand dame of hospitality. With all of this history, there are some mysteries happening here as well. One of the most famous sightings is referred to as the Maid. Many reports state this spirit is wearing a 1920s era maid's uniform and is mainly seen on the 3rd floor of the hotel. She is believed to be one of the hotel's friendlier spirits, walking the halls as if she is supervising the staff. People who witness her describe her as an apparition in her early 20s. Sometimes she is seen adjusting her appearance in the hallway mirrors. Present-day housekeepers have shared stories of their encounters with her, saying they feel a comforting but undeniable presence as they go about their tasks, almost as if she's watching them to make sure they do their job properly. The identity of the maid remains unknown and is quite the mystery, but there are some local legends surrounding her. Some believe she may have been an employee who had dedicated her life to the hotel during the 1920s, when Excelsior Springs was a popular mineral spa destination. The legend says although her name is unknown, it suggests she was a loyal employee and was extremely committed to the hotel even in the afterlife. It's possible her spirit has stayed behind to act as a guardian spirit to make sure the hotel housekeeping staff continues to run the hotel smoothly. A well-known experience comes from a guest who stayed on the 3rd floor and saw a young woman dressed in what appeared to be a vintage maid's outfit. He nodded to her, thinking she was a member of the staff. As she passed by his door, she disappeared around the corner without responding. He asked the front desk about the encounter and learned that there were no employees dressed in vintage uniforms at the hotel. There are stories saying the hotel's lap pool is haunted by a male ghost from the speakeasy days when the pool used to be part of the basement. Allegedly, the man was killed by the mob. Another story says the ghost people have seen is a woman. It seems like she's trying to find her lost child. Her temper is known to get worked up and she'll pull hair and throw things. While the stories of how the spirits came to be at the hotel are unclear, it seems clear that there may be some residual energy lingering in the halls.
If you are still here and you like this video, you can like and comment and subscribe. There's a whole playlist of these. We're going to be adding more. We have not sat down to do a video like this in quite a while. Apologies. We're going to get back on our game though now that it's fall.
Yeah, summer gets a little crazy.
But we're back. Don't worry. We'll be posting regularly. So,
back to your regularly scheduled programming.
We will see y'all in the next video.
Love you.
Love you, twin. Start digging in your butt, twin.
Start digging in your butt, twin.